1, 2, 3, the lawn feed.
Welcome to another episode of the Lawn Feed Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Vince with Ruta Lawn Co., and with me are two fine gentlemen. It's Andrew the Dad by Lawn and Chris. Oh, it's Mowtime. Welcome, fellas. We're back from Atlanta.
Hot Atlanta.
Oh, Jinx, you want me to say that?
It wasn't that hot, thank God.
It wasn't. It was actually very pleasant.
Pleasant Atlanta.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Last episode, we were in Atlanta and we did our first ever live in-person podcast, and we had the lawn. What is
The
his
lawn
name?
dad.
The lawn
It
TJ.
is the lawn dad. No, it's the lawn dad. It's lawn.dad.
He's got a lot of periods.
It's
in there,
different
a lot
on
of
different
unnecessary-
platforms. We'll call him the lawn
unnecessary
dad.
grammar.
We'll call him TJ the lawn dad. But unfortunately, we're back in our states and we're back to being virtual as usual. But it's okay. We have an awesome podcast episode for you guys. Today, we're going to be discussing the question that's flying into our inboxes like crazy. What do I need to do after I seed my lawn? But first, Chris, why don't we thank some of our fine sponsors like Twin City Seed?
Yeah, we got to thank our friends over at Twin City Seed for powering this season of the Lawn Feed podcast. They are built on their reputation of superior service, accuracy, and sustainability with custom blending and packaging, high-performance product, and a team of dedicated experts. Twin City Seed is a North American leader in giving us DIYers the highest quality of premium and elite grass seed for your next project, whatever that might be. Save money on your fall project by using Lawn Feed 10 for 10% off your order. On top of that, always check the banner for free shipping and pairing that up for free ship to foreign using that code. Twin City Seed serves all of North America. Check them out at twincityseed.com and twincityseed.ca. And don't forget the WWWs in front of those.
And if you have seed questions, check out our website, shopthelawnfeed.com. That has access to our free guides and also paid guides. So go check them out. It's literally everything you need to know about what grass seed is best for you.
I'll tell you what, it's been cool to see so many people all over the internet using Twin City Seed.
It is fun.
And everybody is talking so highly of it too. It's just, it stands by, its product. It's amazing.
It's good stuff.
It's great stuff.
That's what happens
win.
when you're nice to people, do business right, and do it the right way.
And have a good product for sure.
Yeah.
Well, before we start talking about seeding or therefore the process after seeding, let's get into some dad's wins and losses, shall we?
A lawn feed tradition where we tap into who we are at heart. Dads! This is Dad's Wins and Losses, where we tap into our inner dad bod father figures and highlight some of the recent wins we've experienced as parents, and of course, vent about the embarrassing losses we take each and every day as dads.
I love you, Daddy.
All right. So Dad's Wins and Losses is sponsored by WaySafe Trailer Hitches. WaySafe has the only trailer hitches on the market with built-in scales to measure the tongue weight to ensure the safest towing experience possible to keep you and your family safe while towing. Use code TLF15 at checkout for 15% off your order at way-safe.com. Chris, you're in the hot seat tonight with some wins and losses. Kids are back to school. What you got for us?
That's just it. It's back to school. And two kids, both boys, 7 and 5, second in kindergarten. Finally. So that's the win, is we're done paying daycare dues.
That's me next year. I'm so excited.
Forever. What that will go to, I feel like it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, though. Like that money, like it's not getting a raise. It's just going to go somewhere else. As the people who are parents with older kids probably are well aware and like laughing at us with younger kids. Like, no, you're dumb. That's going to go somewhere else.
Sports, new shoes, Amazon for the wife.
Yeah. All of the above, probably. Let's be honest. It's not coming to me. But yeah, that's the cool part. We got both of the kids in the same building again, and that was really cool. I forgot how big of a week the first week of kindergarten is, and how much of like a culture shock it is to those kids. Not culture shock, that's not right, but just like it's boot camp. Like they're getting done taking care of like naps and having their routine and all, like new building, new faces, new rules, no nap. All of the different things, and it's go. So like we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our youngest one of just like, oh, this guy's an amazing like energy to, have with us for here in gym and library or whatever and club care, all of those different things. Awesome to hear. When he gets home, different story. And I guess that's his safe place. So he feels like he's can, bend the bar a little bit. But we made it 2 weeks before, and now we have pink eye. So that's cool. So we're dodging that like the Matrix. It's like one of those things where it's like, who's going to get it next, and what inanimate object is like carrying this thing that I'm going to have in my eye for the next, week or two or whatever it is. And yeah, man, it's fun. The poop eye.
The old poop eye.
Thought we were over those, but nope. Turns out
there's a lot going around. There's a lot going around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wish it wasn't that, but it's just gross to think about.
Maybe just like a little common cold, the sniffles,
Yeah. That's coming though.
Oh yeah. Colder temperatures are setting in.
I'd have to imagine like the first 60-degree day, my wife will have like the automated Costco order of like the value pack of Dayquil and NyQuil coming home. That's when cold season starts. Get the Robitussin.
I just gotta drink some elderberry.
Yeah, I won't knock it till I try it. I'm gonna do it this year.
So I just saw a cool video on TikTok where they're like, these people were making their own like gummy bears, and they were like pureeing strawberries and some other stuff and putting it in a blender and then pouring it into a mold, and they put some elderberry in there with like elderberry in it, and they were like, oh, this isn't gonna be good, and they tried it and they were like, oh wow. I'm like, that
sounds phenomenal.
It sounds like a process, and it's something maybe I'll try someday. But I'm like, that looks kind of cool. It might be fun to do with the kids too.
What the hell does it even taste like?
It tastes good.
It's like a tart raspberry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I won't like it, is what you're saying.
No, it's good. Like my wife makes it, and there's like a bunch of herbs and spices in it that she boils it down. And I'll be honest, I don't really like it. She likes it. My girls really like it. She puts honey in it and stuff, but it's not sweet. Like I like sweeter things. So it's just like, yeah. But I mean, you're only drinking an ounce of it once a day, and you can
it's like a shot.
Yeah, and you take shots of stuff at the bar that you don't like, but somebody bought for you, so you're just like, sure, right?
Yeah, something like that.
But that doesn't make you feel better. This stuff does.
Well, does it though?
I don't know. Vince says it does.
It does.
Well, no, I'm talking about the stuff at the bar. Anywho.
Oh, yeah. Well, that could
depends
make
on how much of
feel
that stuff you
better
have.
Temporarily.
Let's go to the bar.
Yes.
So speaking of going to the bar, it has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, but
okay, good transition.
Somehow, you just planted your seed. You are now the proud father or mother.
That could happen at a bar.
Grass babies
planting seeds. Oh boy.
Yes, that could. But anyway, you planted some seed. It's germinated. Yay. Good for you. You finally have a nice lawn. Hopefully you use Twin City seed, and that lawn's going to survive all next year. So what are you going to do after you have seed that's germinated? So there's a lot of different things. There's watering, there's mowing, there's thin areas or washouts that you have to repair. There's fertilizing, weeds, etc., etc., etc. We're going to dive through each one of those topics briefly and kind of give you the ins and outs of what you need to know to be able to help take care of your lawn, your new lawn, into the fall, into the winter. So, Chris, how about watering? Because we're watering like crazy just to get some germination to happen. When do we back off? Should we back off? What do we got to do?
Yeah, it's a fun one because it's like, again, I think one of the most maybe common questions on this topic that I get on seeding projects, it's like, yeah, when do I cut back? Like, when is the magic like sweet spot? And I say when the majority of your germination has occurred. That could be different from project to project because the reality is your soil is going to be moist even if you cut back when half of your germination is there. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's what I always do, and I've seen success with it. I think it can get a little bit tricky when you have like a lot of, maybe you had a washout in your seeding project. So now you got to go back and repair some of those. Like you just mentioned, Vince, it's like, okay, that's a headache because now you have, non-mature grass getting watered even more. It's like, how the heck is that going to mature? Because that's going to be hard for that to go. But a general rule of thumb, let's say your project went to plan. Yeah, you're going to do it when the majority of your grass babies pop up. And you'll see that just by obviously the germination occurring. You know, those little Andrew, you were in a text message with us. You the red rockets or whatever they are. It's like the best day ever because it's like you got your grass babies. You can like, and we're out there with magnifying glasses, right? Of like you can see the purple like tips or whatever it is, and that's when you know it's about to be a fun little week. But yeah, you're cutting back right at the majority of those when those start to turn green and all of those different things, and the rest will kind of just take care of itself. And when we say cut back, you're watering to get germination, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a day for like 5 to 8 minutes, depending on what you wanted to do a day, right? You're going to just go back to your regular watering schedule at that point, right? And you got to let the soil dry out a little bit, and you got to let those things mature, get the root to develop a little bit. It's kind of like taking the training wheels off, right? And then this is where the patience starts in my book, because it's like it will thicken up. It might not look like it will ever thicken up, but it will. So,
Yeah.
You guys have anything different on that?
Pound
Anything
with
that
nitrogen.
pound it with nitrogen? Yeah.
I think like one
There
thing
you
to
go.
consider is, did you incorporate or did you use any Kentucky bluegrass? Because for example, just put down tough turf, which has perennial rye, tall fescue, and Kentucky blue.
Good
The
point.
perennial rye popped up, like I saw germination in 4 or 5 days.
Dude,
The tall
perennial rye and
fescue,
that tough turf
Oh,
germinates
it pops.
quick.
yeah, and the conditions haven't been ideal. They did for a couple of days, and then it's been getting warmer.
They
But
were
like
cold or what?
it was, it's been like abnormally hot.
Oh.
It got like the first few
Mhm.
days it was cold, so it was kind of ideal. And we actually got some rain. But then after that, like day 5, it got back up to the 80s, and it's going to be that for the next week. It's just part of the conditions. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, I know that there's Kentucky bluegrass in that mix, and I may have had
Yeah.
germination at day 3, day 4, but that doesn't mean that it's time to start cutting back, because I know the tall fescue is probably not popping at that time. That's going to be more like day 5 to day 10, for that kind of blend, or even for day 14. And the Kentucky bluegrass could be 14 to 21 to 28 days. I don't know. And so I've been continuing to water, just like I have been, just because I know that there is more to germinate. And so it's kind of like that game you have to play. You have to keep an eye on things. Just kind of use your best judgment, know what kind of cultivars you're using.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And what is your guys' go-to for, like, you put down grass seed? Like, what is your intervals? How many times a day for how many minutes? What do you guys do?
I usually do, what am I at now? I think I'm every 4 hours for like 5 minutes.
But during the daylight?
My options are per day. My options, so I have the ratio system. So like that's what it's either 2, 4, 6, or whatever hour intervals. So I know I'm going through some abnormal heat, so I don't want to wait all 6 hours.
Right.
So I do 4 with a little bit less duration. So it's like a quick little burst.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the mid 80s, and it's brutal. It's just baking things. So I'm every like 2 hours, I'm giving it a quick soak. Yeah, it's drying out real fast.
I think that's a good example of, like, there is no right answer.
And this
to
is bare dirt. So
you're
overseeds
doing
are different
okay.
than bare
Got
dirt.
it.
Gotta
Bare dirt's
clarify
different.
that.
Or if you have large bare spots,
Yeah.
like I
So-
go out and I hand water those, so like the bare
Yeah.
spots. But
Yeah. So if you're doing a full renovation, you have bare dirt, you want that to stay moist. So if that means you're watering every 2 hours, running a cycle for 5-10 minutes, then that's what you're going to do. If like with my clients, if I set them up, I get one of those Melnor timers, because no one has irrigation around here, and has 4 different settings, 4 different zones. And I basically will set them up, and I'll watch their sprinkler on each zone and wait till it gets, the first quarter to half inch pretty moist. And then that's how long I'm going to run the sprinklers for. So mostly it's like 6 to 8 minutes at each time, and then
Mm-hmm.
that only sets to 4 times a day. So I always do, through the hottest part of the day, and then in the I think it's
Dial it
in
back.
in the evening, the second water in the evening, I'll run it a little longer so it stays moist through the night. And then once,
So it's not every 2 hours. It's because it's
Yeah.
only 4 that you can do type
yeah.
of thing.
But then
Yeah.
once they, excuse me, once they have germination and it's been there for a little bit, I usually tell them to cut one of the cycles out so that it's only 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a couple days later, I'll go to 2 times a day, but then I'll start increasing how long it's going for.
Yeah.
Vince,
That's what I do
Vince,
too.
so you mentioned on that, let's say you seeded now,
Yeah.
and I mean, we're filming this in the middle of September. So you're out east Pennsylvania. What's the drastic, high temperatures versus low temperatures? What's the variance over there by you? Is it
Right now,
significant?
we've been getting down into the mid 40s, so 45, 47, and then it's been in the 80s during the day.
Yeah,
So it's
okay.
a big swing right now.
That's I guess my second.
And bone dry.
Yeah, we haven't had any rain either.
No, it's been bad.
It has. Early on, we got all the rain. Now we don't have any rain.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was gonna say, now that we start getting into this this time of year, I've noticed the sunset, at least where I'm at, is at 7:30 now. Maybe even just a touch earlier than that, and then it's like a drastic drop off for the low temperatures, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it's you just got to make it through the day and the stressors, like what Vince was talking about. Like if you've got a lot of those stressful time periods, this can get into a really deep rabbit hole. Like there's localized dry spots and all of those different things that we're not going to dive into tonight.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to consider. I think the biggest one that Andrew was mentioning was you just got to know what's in your mix, and then pair that with what Vince just said of yeah, if you've got some heat risk and the weather's not in your favor, you just got to be on top of it because they're not mature yet.
You just need to adapt. Like
Mhm.
I come
Too
home
wet.
from work, I just kind of do a little walk around. I'm like, does anything look dry? If it looks dry, it's like, well, I need to up it. Or why is there dry spots? Like they're localized. Okay, I just need to get the hose out and hand water them, or localized sprinkler, something like that. You just got to be involved with the process.
So let's say we've made it through all of that and we still have some thin areas. Because I'm seeing a lot of that. And when I first started, I had really no idea when to do it, what to do it. Am I starting the whole process over?
Right.
Let's say maybe there's a washout in one period and it's great, now I've got this huge circle in the middle of the project.
You don't want to overcrowd.
What's that?
You don't want to overcrowd.
Yeah.
all that
what do you
stuff.
do? It's a tough little flip of a coin. If you still have season left to do it, are you going to do it again, or should you wait until a future season, or how would you guys go about that?
I always have washouts when I do renovations. I'm surprised we haven't had a hurricane yet. It's actually coming.
One's coming.
Yeah, next week. Yeah. While we're at the beach. Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. No one's coming.
So
We were talking about planting seeds, right?
Yeah,
So we're good.
So,
There we go.
we always have washouts. Even last year, the perennial ryegrass, there was, I forget what her name was, but tropical storm came up and gave us the old lashing. So what you got to do is, it's do you like that? Assess how bare the spots are. I'll overseed. I'll water pretty good for the beginning couple days. And then I'll start to back off, because at that point you're going to be running into the time where you need to start mowing. And if you're mowing, then you're going to be too wet and you'll have ruts, and it causes just tons of other issues. So it's what comes up after you overseed any fixes, basically.
Yeah,
because hopefully you have a pretty decent stand of turf whenever it wasn't a complete total loss. If it's a complete total loss, then you just need to redo it and deal with it then. But it'll thicken up. Go plant one grass seed or two grass seeds in a row in your flower bed, and watch how big one of those clumps will grow. Like tall fescue will get a big clump. It's fascinating. It doesn't look like it, so it will thicken up once we use some different fertilizers, which we'll get into here shortly.
Here's one for you. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I was just going to say, like, the longer I've been doing this and doing renovations every spring and every fall, I've just kind of learned, like, it's going to be okay. It's going to thicken up. In order for me to have to actually add some more seed, it has to be significantly thin. And, like, this is also an example of knowing what grass seed you planted. Like, if I wait 21 days and all I planted was perennial rye or tall fescue, there's no Kentucky bluegrass. Like, if it hasn't germinated, it's probably not going to germinate. If it's super thin, I'll sprinkle some more in there. And, that stuff pops up pretty quickly. So, you water it for a few more days, whether that spot's by hand or whatever. And after that, you just, if it takes, it takes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's going to probably fill in. And if it doesn't, then spring comes around and I'll touch it up.
Yeah, you just got to know what's in the bag.
Andrew, let's go back to like the scenario that you had before. So you have a mix of like perennial ryegrass, tall fescue, Kentucky bluegrass. If you're listening in warm season zone, couldn't even tell you what those are. But like you have fast germinating grass types versus ones that lag a little bit. The fast germinating ones are like your lawn's getting long. So is it okay to mow?
Yeah.
Do you mow? And what do you do?
Another thing I've learned is new grass is a lot more resilient than people give it credit for. Everyone's like, "Oh, don't walk on the grass. Like you're gonna ruin. Like it's gonna be okay."
I throw my real mower red on it.
And that's just you're right. And I've done enough. I renovate my backyard every spring and every fall because of my dogs. In my first 2 years that I did it, I like fenced off half a section. In the 2 weeks, I fenced off the other section. I wouldn't let my dogs on it. I just let them go.
Yeah.
And I haven't noticed any difference. Like they're fine. I let the kids go on the lawn most of the time. I try to tell them to keep off of it, especially like bare spots. But like, it's a lot more resilient than you think. Mowing's not going to, like your tires and you stepping on it is not going to cause a ton of damage.
I think where it comes into is when it's because people are watering still a lot, and it's the ruts, and people are making it muddy. And that's where they run into issue. Let it dry out for a couple hours before you go put that mower on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Issues.
Yeah, your soil's moist enough where you can cut her back for a night.
Right, and that's a good point. Like if you know you need to mow, plan ahead of time. Go, okay, tomorrow at early afternoon, I'm gonna be mowing. So I'm gonna not do my last cycle tonight, and I'm not gonna water it all in the morning. I'm going to let it dry out. The soil might be a little damp, but like the grass blades are going to be dry. You're going to get a nice clean cut. If you're bagging
give her a nice drink afterwards. Reward.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She'll be thirsty after and you'll be happy to give it to her. So
there it is. Oh yeah.
So we're talking about mowing. At what point is it okay to, let's say you overseed your average, 3-inch tall mowing grass, like you normally mow at 3 inches, you overseed that, you wait 2-3 weeks. At what height or at what time frame should people start mowing?
Generally speaking, if your lawn is at 8 inches, it's too damn long.
If it's bigger than you, start mowing it. Vince is like, I real mow it.
All right, 3 inches too long. Time to mow again. Honey, I'll be in the lawn.
So I had one question. A guy he wants to real mow. He wants to manage his lawn at 1/2 inch. I said, good luck, buddy. I said, that's a full-time job, just managing your lawn at 1/2 inch. Like, do you know what all entails on that? And he's like, when should I start cutting it? I said, well, how tall is it now? He's like, it might be 1 or 2 inches. I said, you're already past your due date. Start mowing it. He's like, won't it hurt it? I said, no. Because when you're mowing it and you're cutting those blades off, you're basically telling it to thicken up. You're telling the roots to go deeper. And it's healthier for the turf in general. So if your goal is 2 inches, wait till it gets about 3.5, and then just take a little bit off. Just take the tip off. If you're looking to mow at 1 inch, start cutting sooner. But get on and get off. Don't go and striping it and double striping it and doing all these crazy
Take
things.
your lawn striper off the back of your mower.
Mhm.
Just get on and get off.
Yeah, and if you overseed, like I think that a lot of people that overseed have the issue with their existing grass just gets so long, and their grass that they're just planted might not be technically 3 inches yet. Is it okay to go out and mow when your existing grass gets too long? Because eventually that starts folding over. That's going to start shading. That's going to start causing issues.
I think that's what I was getting at earlier. Was most of these are overseeds, right? So it's like, just don't go out right when you water.
Right. And we bagging or we mulching? What's the consensus here?
Didn't even know it was a thing until before this call.
So Vince and I are on team bag it. Your first couple mows after when you overseed.
I got to be honest with you guys, and I'm probably stepping into a boundary that's outside of my comfort zone. I have not paid a lick of attention to it. Well, I understand it.
I think this is one factor that might actually play a role in it is like, how long do you wait to mow? If you wait till it's 4.5 inches, mulching is probably perfectly fine. You're not going to get clumpy and you're not going to have too many, grass blades going down, shading, folding stuff over, holding in too much moisture or whatever. But if you wait till that 6 to 8 inch range, like you're trying to wait, like I think you have to bag that because that's just too much to put back. Yeah,
that's extreme for sure.
And like some people are putting straw matting down, erosion matting, so there's a mess in there. Some leaves are falling already. So if that stuff's happening, then you definitely want to be bagging it.
When you live by us, you're seeding in damn near July, so we're not seeing any of that happening.
Labor Day is seeding day.
Yeah. Our pumpkins haven't even, no.
So, recapping, we hit watering. We told you when you should start mowing first. If you have thin areas, we gave us our advice on that. Let's talk about fertilization. So, do you fertilize at time of seeding? How soon should you fertilize after you? Let me rephrase that. Do you fertilize at seeding, and when should you fertilize after some germination has occurred and you did fertilize at seeding? Because usually it's a granular, so it's going to be lasting a couple weeks. So what do you guys do? What's your rule of thumb?
I've gotten into the habit of, like, I do a lot of overseeding. So
Big overseed guy.
I've gotten into the habit of waiting 5 days or so, 5 to 7, and then go out and fertilizing after seeding. Because the main reason is, like, my existing grass is going to continue to grow. It doesn't need any more nutrients or nitrogen. You want to have all that stuff you're putting on the ground going towards your new grass, and that's not going to start doing anything and uptaking any nutrients until it germinates. So if you wait till it's about to germinate or just germinated and then you put it on, that's going to be the best. And then your existing grass isn't going to take that nitrogen and go, I'm growing to the sky and shoot up really tall. And now, like, it's day 9 and you're like, I got to mow. So
interesting.
So that's what I've been. I used to always do it like same day, like do everything in one day. And now I wait.
Yeah, I don't fertilize when I seed.
You wait till germination or close to it?
I wait till after it starts germinating, and then I spoon feed it.
With a liquid?
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
Quick release. But I will say, if I'm doing like a project lawn or something like that, I'll tell the people, go ahead and fertilize and everything now, and we'll use like Scott's with mesotrione in it and stuff. Mesotrione.
Meso what?
Oh,
mesotrione. And
mesotrione,
so
baby.
right there, you're fertilizing at time of seeding. But I will then say, okay, now you have germination. Go back and hit it with a quick release, just like 0.2 pounds of NPK, just to get her going, get her moving.
Interesting.
Yep.
I've done it all at once.
Yeah. So like a traditional
purely
starter fertilizer?
Yeah, purely because it's like easy. It's done.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably wait. I don't know. I don't know who said it. Can't remember. But like 3 to 4 weeks after that, germination. I'm probably ass backwards. After hearing that, I'm like, my mind, a light bulb went off for me. I'm like, damn, that makes a little bit more sense. And I've always been skittish of like damaging the blades that just popped up when they germinated, the grass babies.
Well, think about this. You put down a growth regulator before you seeded, right?
In honestly, most cases, no, I don't.
Okay. But I was
On
gonna
my
say,
short
'cause,
turf,
like,
I do.
yeah.
But that's not
So
the
did you put down
what,
fertilizer when you seeded your short turf too?
Yeah.
And a growth regulator.
Yep.
Okay.
Wrong or not even close?
I don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, it's personal preference, but I mean, you could just, like, my perennial rye, I scalped it low enough and I did not put a growth regulator on it, but I held off on fertilizing. And now it's about back up to the height that it should be, and I should have germination within probably tomorrow morning or the next day. And then in another day, I'll just start feeding it again, and it'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, I probably should.
I have a feeling that if we were to ask 100 people the same question,
They'd all have something.
they'd all have a freaking different
Yep.
answer.
There's a ton of different ways to go about it. And there's tons of different situation scenarios, grass lengths, grass types, time crunches.
Yeah.
Everyone's on different schedules and availability.
That's just it. I do it for convenience. And,
Yeah.
and like a lot of the stuff, and it's kind of like when the best time is to mow. It's like, well, when the fuck do you have time?
Yeah.
See, the way I see it, if I'm going to be seeding, I'm not going to be mowing for
Right.
at least a couple weeks probably. So if I wait 4 or 5 days to go out and fertilize, it's just like, honey, I gotta go out and fertilize. And it takes me a fraction of the time that it takes me to mow.
Oh,
So-
yeah. It's real quick.
Yeah.
I
so-
had never even thought about that of like, it's not going to germinate.
Yep.
well,
You're fertilizing nothing. I mean, you're fertilizing the soil, but like,
I've gotten to the point where, like you do a full renovation, you're out there all day, dethatching, aerating, picking up everything. It's a whole ordeal, right?
yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, I want to spray tenacity, mesotrione. I want to fertilize. I actually wait till like day 3 a lot of times to do meso now, because like as long as you get it done before germination, you're good. And so like at day 2, day 3, I'll put that down, and I have had no problems with that. So it's like I do that day 2 or day 3, a couple of days later, I go out and fertilize. So it's like I can kind of shorten my day, original day, and kind of space some stuff out.
So that's at seeding or 5 days after. When do you fertilize next? Your grass babies have popped up.
Technically, you just put down a granular, so 68 weeks, but then you're coming into fall, so you
6
usually
to
do
8,
Not
correct?
68.
Not 68.
6 to 8.
You don't want to wait a full year.
No. And then you're coming into fall, so you're going to put down your fall application a couple weeks after that.
Right. I feel like you kind of just get back
so-
on schedule after that.
There you go.
Yeah. And there's
Unless you
different
do
ways to go
liquid.
about it. Maybe you want to use liquid and kind of spoon feed it more every couple of weeks for a couple of weeks. And
Hang on, Vince. You said 6 to 8 weeks after germination,
Yeah, because that's
and
generally
then
your slow
winterizer.
release. Yeah, and then you'd put down your late fall application.
no, a
So
lot
for
of
everyone not listening in Pennsylvania and has a winter that starts in like October, what do you do?
no question. A lot of starter fertilizers
Just
are actually
leave-
quite
winterize
low in nitrogen. Like they're
Yeah.
like 10 or lower, a lot of them, and like really high in
Well, I
phosphorus.
I think we debunked that winterizers are unnecessary. So,
Yeah.
Right.
But
But what I'm trying to get at is with the low nitrogen in your average starter fertilizer, people buy a starter fertilizer that really doesn't have that much nitrogen in it. Should they still wait 6 to 8 weeks, or is like 4 to 6 okay?
it depends what you're buying.
See, I use like a 1919. That's what because it's cheaper and it works just fine. So that's higher in nitrogen.
Yeah.
And so probably 6 to 8
Depends
weeks.
what you're buying. If you guys have questions on what types of nitrogen and fertilizers like that. We had Nick from Yara on, and that was awesome. He went through the different sources of nitrogen and like the quick releases and when you can expect, X, Y, and Z. So go back and take a listen to that because that's going to be super beneficial for you. And I think we can talk about when to fertilize, when not to fertilize for a while here. But I think sum it all up, it's safe to fertilize at time of seeding and you're good to wait. And then if you have a longer fall like I do, you can do a follow-up application, 4 or 5 weeks afterwards. And then if you're like Chris, you might go a little bit heavier at the time of seeding, and then maybe you give a little bit of spoon feeding liquid applications like Simple Lawn Solutions or something prior to winter. But unfortunately, sometimes when we seed, we will do some top dressing, or we'll just open up the soil from doing aeration. And because we bought Twin City Seed, which is pure seed, there's no weed seed in that. But you're going to see some weeds popping up. We did Tenacity. It helped a little bit, but there's still weeds that come up. When is it safe to start treating for weeds? After you seed your lawn.
The $1 million question.
Just let winter take care of it.
We're not going to tell you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
On the
And
next
for that,
episode,
tune into the next episode. What a tease, Vince.
You're
That was
right.
great.
That was, yeah. It's like Days
That
of Our
was
Lives.
great.
See, I'm not a big fan of actually even treating in the fall, like unless you have a really bad outbreak of something and it's kind of crazy because the winter is going to take care of a lot of the weeds that pop up. But when should you, if you're going to treat, when is that safe time frame?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to depend on the product that you do, but I think for me, I've always waited.
Read the label.
Yeah,
on
read the label
the
for
bottle.
the love of
there.
for the love
There's
of
your
God.
answer.
Yeah.
But
Rule of
generally,
thumb, yeah.
generally speaking, it is a good month after
Mhm.
germination.
Yeah.
And like your grass babies are very young still, and like they'll do damage straight up,
Yeah. You want to wait till
Granular.
you,
or liquid. You just got to be careful.
yeah, until that new grass needs to be mowed 3, maybe 4 times. I probably wouldn't touch it with any herbicides.
Yeah, that's a better answer. Thank you for saying
Yep.
that. That's a better answer. But yeah, the best answer is read the label. So
Yep.
Oh, for sure. Before you apply anything, always read that because it'll straight up tell you, like before seeding, after seeding. It should say
And-
all that stuff.
And
Yeah.
we would be foolish not to touch on this because in cool season land, there's a fall pre-emergent that you could apply.
Hmm.
And obviously you just did a seeding project, but if you go and do a pre-emergent, there is always that, it's the same rule of thumb. You have new grass babies in the spring or right now, a pre-emergent, there has been proof that it is going to do more damage or have risk to your root system on newer turf, newly established turf. So just be cautious on pre-emergence, either spring or fall. There are weed seeds sitting in your lawn that will inevitably germinate inside of winter. Poa annua would be one of them, right?
We do have a question coming up about that here shortly.
Would you look at that? It would help if I read those first, right? Anywho,
I'll stop you there. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah, so tune in after the commercial break, and we will talk about that. But just be cautious on pre-emergence just in general. That's my only 2 cents on that because trust me, weed control in general is confusing, and companies make it even more confusing. On top of that, and we just don't want you to ruin what you just put down and your investment. So protect your investment. Be smart about pre-emergence, even post-emergence. Really, read the label and have a day.
Yeah. Well, don't go anywhere because we're going to hop into our Mowtime mailbag. But thanks so much for listening so far. Hopefully these tips that we have given you are going to help you succeed in the lawn, and just have an awesome lawn. Just wait till spring, guys, because there's nothing like a freshly seeded lawn that pops off in the spring. It just looks awesome. So put the time in, do it right. And let's get into some Mowtime mailbag questions.
That's it.
It's time for the Mowtime Mailbag.
Join us as we reach deep into the mailbag and answer your questions. If you would like to have a question answered on the Lawn Feed podcast, head to thelawnfeed.com and submit a question.
Mailbag, mailbag. It's time for the Mowtime Mailbag.
That needs to be a Grammy hit. That thing slaps. Slaps. All right. Mowtime Mailbag. We've got a couple questions. And the very first one is from my neighbor in Roseville, Minnesota, Mr. Cameron. In season dethatching. Gentlemen, any tips or pitfalls to avoid when thinking about dethatching during the growing season for cool season grass? I'm used to dethatching in the fall before seeding, but I have never done it at a different time of year. I had some fungus come in the summer and was thinking about dethatching after I took care of it with an antifungal or fungicide. But I wasn't 100% sure when the right time would be and what to avoid to make sure that I wasn't hurting the lawn. Your thoughts?
Do it.
You won't.
Do it. Do
You
it.
won't.
Do it. Do it. But what? Okay, so do it. But what are the considerations?
Send a
So
report
when
back to us so we can tell people.
So
what
when
to do.
I bought my outlet, they harped on all the perks of scarifying and dethatching and verticutting and all that stuff, and all the research behind dethatching, and when you dethatching in the spring is the best time to dethatch. I would do it once a month, just a real light dethatching. Until you get into the hot summer dry months. If your turf is stressed, don't add more stress to it. Until then, doing a light dethatch once a month is super beneficial. It's increasing the airflow. It's getting away the thatch layer that retains moisture, creating fungus. So you can even use a manual dethatcher from the small areas, like if you had fungus and stuff. So it's super beneficial. But if your turf is stressed, don't go and put this on there and do that. So I think that sums it up. What do you guys think? What do you hear?
I think that sounds great. You did wonderful.
Thanks.
You did
guys.
great, Vince. Do what he said.
All right.
Do what you
Next
said.
one.
Next. What's up, Cameron? Neighbor. Appreciate you chiming in on the Mowtime Mailbag. That was awesome and a really good question, actually. So thanks for putting that in there. Mitchell with 1L, Mitchell A from Tulsa, Oklahoma, right in Tornado Valley there, whatever that's called. Alley, not valley. It's not a valley. Very flat.
Stick to the script.
Hey, Andrew.
Yes.
Did you know that
Chris.
you could do pre-emergence with or without overseeding? Turns out we're going to talk about that right here.
Yeah. Let's wait and talk about it.
Yeah, overseeding and pre-emergent applications. Hello, Mitchell. I am currently undergoing a complete renovation. Nice, good work in my front lawn, and I'm switching over from a Bermuda to a turf-type tall fescue. Bold move. Love that for you. The reason being that I have too much shade in the lawn for the Bermuda to grow well. I will not be using pre-emergent in the fall nor in the spring in order to give the roots of my grass the best chance to grow deep into the soil going into summer. However, I was wondering if the technicalities going forward involving overseeding in the fall and the use of a pre-emergent the following spring. I know it is not recommended to use any pre-emergence for the entire length of a growing season following seeding/overseeding because of the root pruning properties of pre-emergence. My question is, if I am overseeding most fall seasons in order to repair damage from the summer heat and drought, is it in my best interest to pretty much never use a pre-emergent going forward? I do have irrigation, but I am also not willing to break the bank in order to keep up with the watering in order to have zero damage. I'd just rather repair in the fall time. What is your guys' approach and thoughts behind this? Brilliant question.
He clearly knows about pre-emergence and the pruning, which is awesome.
Yep.
So
I want to hear Vince first.
I was just going to say, so something like prodiamine, you have a rate. You 0.38 to 0.32 to like 0.5 or something is the rate per K. So go at a half rate and you're good. Do one application. It might help. It might hurt them just a little bit, stunt them, but you don't have to go at a full rate. At least you're getting some pre-emergent property, some pre-emergent down to help with some of that weed pressure. I've seeded my lawn in the fall, brand new renovation, and I've put down pre-emergent down. I've done 2 separate applications. I've done. I think it's like 0.6. Read the label per time. I mean, there's a max rate per month, but basically I cut that in half, and I did like 1 at this time, and it grew, and I mowed and stuff, and then like a couple weeks later I did the second application. You can just do one of the half applications and still get some pre-emergent properties without root pruning and causing tons of issues on your turf. I think you're completely fine with that.
Yeah. I think it wasn't this past year, but the year before, I decided to try not to use any kind of pre-emergent in my lawn at all because of that theory of the pruning, and I had overseeded prior in the fall, and I had a lot more crabgrass and stuff in my lawn than I thought that I ever would. And I was like, okay, I'm sold on pre-emergence, because even with a pretty thick stand of grass, I was amazed at how much was popping up, and I was treating it all just by hand. I was picking it out with like one of those weeding tools, which is one of the nice things about crabgrass is if you catch it early, you can take it out really easily and quick. But I was like, whoa, this is beyond what I thought would be popping up here. I thought I had a thick enough stand that this wouldn't happen. So I do the split applications myself, and I do both the applications. And I'll tell you, middle of the summer this year, I was mowing. I'm like, I have never seen my lawn so thick and thriving. It just looked, it was great. And so I haven't seen any adverse side effects of using pre-emergence. Just, it's
I did
dealer's
not.
choice.
Go ahead, Vince.
I was just say I skipped pre-emergent 1 or 2 times in the years, and it's been fine because the grass is thick enough.
Correct.
But I do have neighbors that have tons of weeds and discharge their weed seeds into my lawn every time they mow because they shoot it out the side. Discharge, yeah. So I'll treat over there and stuff, but for the most part, like Andrew said, if you're mowing, just hand pick them. It's super simple. And if it was a bad year, you can always use post-emergent herbicides.
Yeah.
And then next year you just know, hey, I need to put down a pre-emergent, but I think you'll be fine.
Well, I was about to say, too, half this question is he's going from Bermuda to turf-type tall fescue. So those are 2 completely different growing characteristics and how they will self-repair and do all of those things, too. So that's a lot, obviously, to consider when going from one grass type to another.
Yeah, it's a huge learning curve.
Well, especially that's a warm season to a cool season in the transition zone. So it's like, it's a great question. But at the end of the day, if you are not all about using chemicals, Vince, you hinted at it. If you have a thick stand of turf, inevitably you will not have to deal with as many pressures in general as you do right now without that, right? And that will hold true for, I think, a lot of things, but specifically the weed pressures, year in and year out. What your neighbors bring into your yard, that's another story. I have been there. It's not fun. But no, that's a great question. Anything else on that?
No.
Cool.
Good luck with that renovation. Send us some pictures too. It'd be cool to see.
Yeah, we'd love to see the pics. I've actually gotten quite a few. There's a few of them that have been like out of this world. Total difference. And it's cool. Really cool. So yeah, send us all of the things. I think we're heading north. Missouri. Yeah, we're heading north. I think so. Yeah, north.
Don't think.
Nailed
just
it.
read. Yep.
Adam P., Kansas City, Missouri. Cool season fall overseed and a lawn level. Love your guys' content. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I have a new lawn, which is sod laid in 2021. That was heavy clay soil and very compacted. I'm in the transition zone with cool season grass, mix of KBG, Kentucky bluegrass, and PRG, perennial ryegrass. I started my real mowing journey in the summer of 2022. Congratulations. And had some setbacks this last year. I am looking to get back into real mowing this fall and definitely next year. I'd planned to mow low, dethatch, and then level with topsoil and a sand mix. Given that I also have heavily compacted soil, I wanted to also mechanically aerate and pick up the plugs. I will eventually carry on with liquid aeration, but want to do a mechanical now to address the compaction. When would you incorporate aeration in a fall renovation? Can I do it? Can I do it after I level? Should I skip leveling altogether and postpone until the spring or the fall of next year? Additionally, I have a Toro GM 1000 reel mower, so Green's GM reel mower. I have heard you want to start mowing the grass once it gets to be about 1 inch and start training it. Is the weight of the mower a concern over the newly germinated turf? So a lot of the stuff we just talked about on the second half, but on the leveling components, Vince, this is your wheelhouse on lawn leveling, specifically on mixes and when to do it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah. So yes, you should aerate before you level your lawn. And then if your lawn's already pretty, it's just compacted, it's not very bumpy, just go sand. You don't need to be bringing in any topsoil or sand mixture or topsoil sand mixtures. You can just go sand. But aerate it. Pick up the cores. I mowed mine and then I just ran a dethatcher with the bag over it. But a lawn sweeper also would pick up the cores, and then throw down your sand. I did about a ton per 1,000. And since you poke holes in the ground, you're going to need more than that. So about 1.5 to 2 ton per 1,000 square foot after an aeration is probably your best bet for sand leveling. And then, yeah, like you said, with the mowing and the mower, I had a Greensmaster 1000. I actually did a manual reel mower for a couple weeks, and then I just got sick of waiting and got the itch, so I just threw the Greensmaster on it. I think if you're doing that, what I learned is just let it dry out a little bit, and you'll be good to go. You can go right to it.
Liquid aeration?
Does it work? Does it not work? I don't know. You can use it, but it's not an end all be all. You're still, mechanical aeration is always going to trump anything for reducing compaction. So yeah, I mean, if you have it, throw it down throughout the year. But
And I feel like with some liquid aeration products, there's recommendation on waiting till after seeding. There's like a window with a lot of those products. Is that your guys' take on that too?
No
I
clue.
don't use them, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
I don't trust it enough.
I feel like the Simple Lawn Solutions soil loosener has some kind of stipulation like that. So consider that too. Just make sure you're not applying it, when you shouldn't be. Read the label.
I just know, yeah, what Vince said. The real thing is always going to be better than the not real thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just do the real thing.
Do it.
Whether that's right or wrong, I
The
don't
real
know.
thing and then do the real thing.
Yeah.
Do the real thing and then do the real thing. Brian M. Cranston, Rhode Island.
Brian Cranston,
neither a road nor an island. Brian Cranston from Rhode Island.
It's either a road or an island or Brian Cranston.
Or Brian Cranston. None of anything we just said. Overseed time frame. I've got my final I got my final cut height of cut down to 2.25 inches, as low as I can go, as low as I can safely go. I dethatched and have someone coming to aerate today, which I assume is maybe last week or whatever. What is my time frame from getting seed down? It's supposed to rain this afternoon, and if he doesn't show, do I have to start over? Do I have to start over and dethatch and loosen all of the soil? So what is the time frame after aeration with all of the different things? Do we have to knock this out in one day? Can we spread it out? All of that.
I've gotten this question a couple times this year as well. And if dethatching gets all that dead stuff out of there, and you're not going to gain a ton of dead material down in the soil in a couple weeks. This stuff builds up
Right.
over time. So you dethatched, like, as long as it was fairly recently, you're fine. The aeration is the important thing. Getting those holes, like core aeration, and getting seed down into those holes. I was just walking around my lawn earlier today, looking at my germination that's happening, and just about every single hole that I could see from my core aeration has multiple grass blades sticking out of it. And it just goes to show, like, how effective core aeration is with overseeding. So I would try to time it with your core aeration whenever, shortly after. You can probably wait a couple of days. It doesn't fill in that fast as long as you don't touch it.
So I actually answered this question. Brian messaged me in my DMs. He's using Sunny Lawn mixture from Twin City Seed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Must have a
That's
lot
a
of
good
sun.
one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Very underrated in my
Mhm.
experience with it. Well, cool. Brian, thanks for reaching out from Rhode Island, neither a road nor an island. Down the road in Westchester County, New York, Mike C. Vince, listen up. This is all yours. And buckle up.
Uh-oh.
Hey guys, I'm absolutely loving the podcast. I managed to get my hands on some legacy PGR. That is Vince, that's you. This spring, I have been using it on my lawn at the recommended intervals of 500 GDDs, growing degree days. Since then, I have been seeing great results from the PGR, but the time has come for my fall overseed, and I'm not sure really what to do. I snagged a bag of Tough Turf After Dark, which I plan to use for my overseed, but I am not sure if I can continue, or I should continue, to use the PGR through my fall overseed. I'm coming up to my next application and thought it might be good to get the PGR down, plant growth regulator, a little before the overseed so I can really let loose. So I can really let those seeds germinate before having to get out there to mow. Any suggestions on when, if at all, to use PGR during the overseeding? Thank you so much. Sincerely, Mike.
Mike, you seem like you got it all going on. You got it figured out. Good job.
Yeah, he does.
I'm super interested to see how this Twin City Seed After Dark stuff comes out. So please tag us in that. But your PGR, I'm assuming you probably already seeded at this point, but PGR is safe right before seeding. It's actually really good right before seeding. That way you're letting your, we talked about this before, but you're letting the existing grass stay low, and you're letting the new seed have a chance to germinate and grow and not get choked out or have a complete jungle and have to mow your new baby grasses too soon. So before
I have
seeding is perfect.
I
I
have a
think
question
Andrew,
for
you
you.
did some of that, right?
I did. I sprayed a new couple days before.
Bless you. Oh, you
Yeah,
said a new.
a new.
Sorry.
Plant growth regulator. But I have a question about this specific product because different plant growth regulators, they act differently. Like, there's different kinds. They're not all the same. And I actually looked up Legacy, and I was reading that it says to let it dry like overnight and then water it in the following day a quarter inch because it affects it's both root and shoot absorbed. And that got me thinking, is that safe to use before seeding if it's root absorbed? Because a new is all foliar. Am I correct? And so it doesn't go down into the soil and affect anything that's going to start growing in the following days. So is a product like this safe to use? And do people need to be careful what kind of plant growth regulators they're eyeing for these kind of things?
That's a really good point.
It is a good point.
And so I read this and I was like, I'm not sure if it says that, it is
Did it
root
say
and
anything
shoot
with
absorbed.
seeding on the label?
It at the bottom of this thing says overseeding note for perennial ryegrass overseed fairways. Application should be delayed until perennial ryegrass is well established, 75% coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Another classic case of read the label, then, right?
yeah, and so I think a lot of this stuff is geared towards golf courses because they use it mostly. That's why I was talking about perennial ryegrass, but I think that
Right.
goes for most grasses.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. So yeah, if you're using a different type of PGR that has different uptake, then just read the label in the back.
we know a new is safe to use.
Yeah, new is safe.
That's
to
our
use.
This is
go-to.
good, yeah.
We have a whole
Yeah.
episode on that. So
hmm
We do.
what's that under? That's under
That was
New Farm?
New Farm.
yeah,
Yep.
that was with New Farm.
Aaron from New
We had
Farm.
a couple people on from New Farm.
Season
Yeah.
2, I believe.
Season 2, right in the middle of the year, and then we had one on earlier this year.
Yeah.
Season 3.
Yep.
So go check those out. Wealth of knowledge in that regard, with people much smarter than we are. So the last one we have, guys, is from Anthony in Connecticut. A lot of East Coasters, Northeasters, lawn
Represent.
watering. Anthony says, longtime watcher of your channel. Thanks for watching, man. That's sweet. A lot of you listen. This guy watches. I live in Connecticut and going to do an overseeding project this fall, and I always have questions about the watering for seed. What do you recommend? People tell me 5. So this is during the project. People tell me 5 to 7, 5 to 7 minutes, 3 times per day, or just once a day. I have been told. I have even been told night watering if I were to do it 3 times a day, and the last one being around 4 o'clock. My fear is that it will get dried out and it doesn't have enough time before it gets dark. Would love some tips. Thank you all for your help. What would you recommend?
I think we answered all that earlier, but
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, just real quick.
I think that to sum up what we talked about earlier is like 4 or 5 times a day, 5 to 10 minutes. Keep an eye on your lawn. Make sure it's not drying out. Adjust with the temperatures and the weather, your climate. As far as when to stop in the afternoon or evening, you want to make sure that the soil's still wet overnight. So I mean, depends on what time sundown is. Like Chris mentioned, like 7:30 sundown. Like maybe 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Depends on how hot it is and what's going to be. So it's really I wouldn't worry too much about the mold. I mean, a lot of the conditions are a lot better right now with the drop in humidity and stuff like that. But I don't know. What do you guys? Anything else?
No, I think you're good. I definitely wouldn't do it once a day.
No.
Certainly not that. You can't let your seed dry out. So, yeah. We hit a
Awesome.
lot on that earlier, and yeah, this is obviously the seed germinating. So I think you're right on track with 3-4 times a day at lower intervals. So
this is a good episode. A lot of important topics that we hit on this. If we didn't hit an important topic, shoot us a DM, or more importantly, go to the mailbag, submit a question so we can talk about it on the air and get you the answers you need. But before we say goodbye, I feel like it's like a kid's song or like a before we gotta go watching too many songs. Go over to lawnfeed.com. Check out some amazing lawn gear and apparel to elevate your set of lawn shirts, sweatshirts, and more. Use promo code BRAD15 at your checkout for 15% off, and you might see us wearing these nice schnazzy hats. Make sure you go on over and check out the Midwest Lawn Club. They just started an awesome drop for some swag. Head over to itsmowtime.com and get yourself an order on a dope hat. There is a limited supply, so I hear. So when it's gone, it's gone. They're really nice hats. I'm not just saying that, but it's
We
a
all
nice
happen
cap.
to wear them tonight.
Nice
I was
capper.
about to say we're all.
I think we all like them. So
Yeah. So on behalf of the entire Lawn Feed crew, thank you so much for joining us on another great episode. Stay safe out there. Watch out for pink eye, and good luck in this week's venture of parenthood.
Coming.
We'll catch you guys in the next time. Bye.
see you guys.
Bye-bye.